In the last video on this 2006 Forester, we were diagnosing a P0442 EVAP leak. We traced it back to the fuel pump module gasket. We've got the gasket. Let's go ahead and replace the gasket and confirm our original diagnosis. So guys, our new gasket is a 42060AA040. And it goes right under this fuel pump module right here. First things first, we need to depressurize our system so we don't have a lot of pressurized fuel in this feed line when we take it loose. So what we're going to do is disconnect our electrical pigtail here at our fuel pump module, start the engine up, run the engine until it dies, and try to start it again to make sure all the fuel pressure is zapped out of this line before taking it loose. And our fuel pressure is bled off. All right, guys, so our electrical pigtail is disconnected. We can kind of tuck it back over here out of the way. Now we need to take loose our line here and our line here. So it will squeeze in these little tabs, push forward, and then should be able to just slide it back off of there. And we'll push our fuel feed line back and tuck it over. Then we'll take our clamp off here and slide our hose back. And tuck this hose back out of the way as well. Anyone curious about these are the new Milwaukee cross handle long reach hose grip pliers. I'll try to link them below for those of you interested in them. All right, so now we can take off our 8mm nuts around the perimeter. And all 8 are off. Push this little bracket here off to our side and lift up on our module. If it hasn't been off in a while and there's a lot of corrosion and junk and dirt built up, it's good to take a blow nozzle and some brake parts cleaner and blow and clean around this so crap doesn't fall in your fuel tank. Alright, so got the fuel pump module out, and we can definitely tell they did not replace this gasket when they replaced that fuel pump, and we can definitely see a brand new shiny fuel pump on this module. Alright, so I got most of the big crunchies off of here, and as you can see, this gasket is really bad. It's tearing up as I try to pull it off. Also, you can see this corrosion here, if it would focus. There's a bunch of corrosion on the bottom side of that module. I took a roll lock and some sandpaper and really went to town on that, so we got a good sealing surface for this new gasket. So we'll go ahead and get this old gasket off here, clean a little more, prep, and get ready to throw it back together. But I'm pretty confident that this was our issue. So I went in here and replaced the fuel pump, and neglected to change this old gasket. And as you can see, it is good and well rotted and not doing so hot. Especially when you compare the two side by side. This one's nice and hard. This one is still supple and really pliable. As you see, there's these little locator tabs. So we're gonna stick this on the bottom side of the module and then set it down, rather than putting it on here and then setting the module down. That way this is stuck on and good and flush underneath that module. So I was right. There is our new fuel pump and new clamps and hose. We can tell someone's been in here to do that. I mean, we already had evidence before, but cleaned up the corrosion up here, which isn't a big deal. The main deal is all this ring of rust around the bottom side where it seals against the gasket. Now, it's perfectly fine for years and years and years, but as soon as you disturb that and set it back down, that creates lots of high and low spots that don't want to seal back up and create the perfect place for an EVAP leak. So, got this all shined up and as smooth as we can get it. There is a little bit of pitting there because of some corrosion, but that's the best we can do. We'll slap that new gasket on there and set this back in the fuel tank. And there's the new gasket on. We got those little alignment dowels in. And on the flip side, bingo bammo, new gasket time. Now to carefully fish the assembly back into the tank. Alright, now that we got the module back in, go ahead and tighten up our little 8mm nuts here. Guys, and final torque spec is 4.4 Newton meters. Again, in that crisscross pattern. And set. We'll fish our pigtail back up. Like so. Grab our fuel feed line. And pop it back on until it clips into place. Clips like so, and we'll put our hose over here on. Like so. Clamp back up. And try to index that clamp in the correct orientation using the witness marks. A lot of times these clamps won't seal back up well if they're on an older hose that already has witness marks if you don't line it back up in the pre-existing grooves. Alright, and we're set. All we gotta do now is cycle the key on and off a few times. Check for fuel leaks here. If we've got no fuel leaks here, we can go ahead and start the car up. We'll go ahead and clear the codes and go for a drive until all of our monitors reset, and we can confirm that this EVAP leak is fixed. All right, we'll go ahead and cycle the key and check for leaks. All right, and we're all dry, no leaks. We are good to go. So everything's back together now. What I'm actually gonna do is just go drive it and hopefully see that check engine light cut off when it runs an EVAP leak test again, and it passes this time, fingers crossed.
So guys, unfortunately, after all of that work and our test drive, we still have a P0442 small EVAP leak. So it's back to the drawing board. Now we saw smoke, or I saw smoke coming out near the module. I assumed it was that gasket based on the evidence. We saw that the gasket was pretty bad, had not been replaced when the fuel pump was taken loose. That was a pretty good guess based on the smoke around that module and the fact that it had been removed recently for that fuel pump. So it's back to the drawing board. We need to hook up the smoke machine once again and look again for smoke. Maybe one of those lines at the back near the tank when they were taking the module off, maybe they got moved and they cracked. So we're going to have to dig a little bit deeper into diagnosing this code. EVAP codes are not a fun time. They are a pain in the butt to diagnose, as we're seeing right here. So not sure if I'm going to wrap the video here and make this a three-parter, or if I will have time to figure out where it's coming from and come back and show you.
All right, guys, I think you can see that smoke this time. Unfortunately, our leak, again, was not that gasket. It's coming from on top of the fuel tank. Now, there are two plastic valves or fittings up here, and they're inaccessible while the fuel tank is in the car. You have to remove the prop shaft, remove the exhaust, remove the rear differential, rear axles, rear subframe to drop the gas tank down to get on top of it. I'm going to try to run the borescope in there to pinpoint exactly what up here between the jet pump and the fuel pump is leaking, but it's definitely something on top of the tank. Again, age and time are just as bad as mileage for component failure. You can really see that smoke now. I'm going to switch over to the borescope and try to get it in frame. So guys, I went in with the borescope, and unfortunately the way that thing is shielded on top of the tank, I'll try to put in a picture or a diagram showing it. I just can't get in there with the borescope to see exactly where that smoke is coming from, which of the components here in the middle top part of the tank is leaking, but that is where our leak's located. Unfortunately, it's not a quick fix. It's not an easy fix. It's going to be several hours of labor to drop the tank, fix, and put the tank back in. It's just not something I'm equipped to do right now with not having a shop and a lift. And unfortunately, that's the end of this project. This customer is going to have to take it somewhere else. At least they've got a diagnosis that the tank needs to come out and check for a cracked or leaking component on top of the tank between the fuel pump module and the jet pump module. So there we go, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you all in the next one.